we're going through and we're talking about Taiwan today and our mission trip, giving you guys a little bit of a recap of what went down and honestly why we do this mission in the first place as well. So we've got kiddos here. They'll be here just for the first little bit as we watch our video and we go through some of our stories and testimonies and stuff here. So and then kiddos, you guys will head back. So if kiddos, all of you guys right here, you guys can all pay really good attention. There will be some specific snacks from Taiwan just for you guys, and all the teachers will eat the gross snacks too, okay? So be on your best behavior, and the teachers will eat the fish snacks. Okay? But gotta behave. Yeah, all right. All right, so we got a little recap video that we kind of put together for you guys to get an idea of what it kind of looked like in Taiwan this year.
There is no one else, full of mercy, full of grace, casting every sin into the deepest sea, writing a new story for you and me. Who is like the Lord, faithful till the end, His love remains again and again. Everything He spoke came true, every promise He would do just came, but mercy stayed. Love became the narrow way from Warshav to every land. I watched the Father's perfect plan. The story closes, but hope lives on, because His faithfulness is never gone. If you ask me what I've learned after every twist and turn, God is faithful, God is true, every single word.
Bell and Chengda are here as well. They were helping out a significant amount, way more than what we even needed. And we were planning on just making it very easy for them, and we did not make it easy for them. So thank you guys for everything. And to this team, thank you guys. The stories that we've heard over and over again from people in Taiwan, from the people who we served, was just, even if like we didn't get the chance to actually share the full gospel, they heard and saw the way that you guys loved Jesus. So thank you guys. The church, we can give them a round of applause for what they did. Thank you guys for the way you served. We got, that's good now. Thank you. I've asked, so I would love for a few people to go ahead and just share some of what they have heard, or some of what, like their stories specifically. Would anyone like to go first and share a little bit? Cool. We'll let, we can go ahead and let Ben, it's flashing. Now it's red. Okay. Mikey, we'll let you go first. There we go.
All right, good morning, guys. For you guys that don't know, I'm Mikey. This is my first mission trip that I'd actually have ever done, and for a reunion church, and we'll go over it, but it was something that I'll never forget, and I really say that if you guys ever get a chance to do something like this, okay? And so, you know, I have to say, like, first and foremost, for anybody that doesn't know me and my style, I'm kind of like a big picture kind of guy. I look at everything, the big thing, and sometimes miss those little small details. And so, when we were doing this mission trip, and Andrew had asked me to do a review on it, I'll be 100% honest, this was actually really tough for me to do. And it took a lot of time and reflection to kind of go over everything that I went through and saw. And you know, truth of it, look at me getting all shaky. You know, but really the truth was is that it wasn't because in all this time out there and all these amazing things did I get to witness you know, God's hands just straight out working in front of me, or seeing all these jaw-dropping moments that just like shook me to my core, that it was like, I don't even know where to start with this. It was actually, by the end of it, it was something that I had to really, like I said, kind of read through the lines and see what I'd been through. So when we went out there, first of all, like our team, unbelievable. Like, and most of these people are all have already done the missions, from the TAs to the teens to everybody. So this trip for me was so easy. Like, I mean, everything lined out, everything came to plan, and technically all I had to do was just have like the courage to get on the plane and go. And they had me asked to teach. And before we were doing it, from what I had understood, like this was going to be anywhere from like 13 to 16-year-olds. And my style of teaching and the way I am, I'm looking for those like hardcore truths. I want to shake some souls, like I want to break some things. And we showed up, and we ended up, and from what I understand, most of these people that spoke Mandarin could speak some English. Well, we showed up in this classroom, and I'm sitting about 26 students, and they're about 9 to 11 years old. And they couldn't speak a lick of English, not a word. So, in my head, you know, it was like, we're here to do culture exchange, missionaries, or ministry, and then English. Well, the way it kind of worked out in this whole trip with all these amazing people is that we had to just kind of work on our toes. All the curricular that we had been practicing for weeks and everything else was kind of just thrown out the window. And it was just kind of like, how can we, you know, engage with these people, get our trust, and, you know, do what we were there to do. And that was really tough, but it was actually a lot of fun, surprising. But there's some, kind of skipped all over this. So, but, you know, and the thing about their culture that I really noticed is that they really held up the wall. And they didn't really know much about Americans. So they very much were just sitting there like, we don't know you, we don't want to engage with you guys. And it was just kind of our job to relax and get them to break down their walls and start teaching us and stuff. And them to teach us. Mandarin is one of the hardest things I've ever tried. I butchered their language terribly, daily, but they did amazing on their English side of things. And we were able to do the night markets at the end of the night, and I mean, there's 1,000 things that I could go over all this. And then by the end of it, about a week, we had little house parties and all this stuff, and literally by the end of it, we were just hanging out like old school friends and homies. It was great. And then, so then you're like sitting there and it's like, why is this so hard? Like, what is so bad about all these things? Why am I so upset? Well, truth is, like I said, I'm one of those big picture. I wanted to go out there, I wanted to shake these chains, I wanted to, you know, we went to the temples and like these beautiful people, but in my eyes, all I could see was a bunch of beautiful people enslaved to just like complete pagan worship. And all I wanted to do was just give them some peace of mind and freedom in Jesus. Period. That was why I was there, ready to storm the front gates, and I didn't get to do that once. So it was very difficult for me. I'm that type of person, you ask me to do a job, I will do a job, and I expect results. But that didn't happen. So when Andrew asked me to review this and go through all this, everything that God kept telling me was, people are ministry. Ministry is people. So, in that, and being able to connect with these people, have these laughs, break them to, you know, break their chains, and I got to see that literally. Where is this? So, because literally in just about a week, they broke all those things down, and it was just literally one of those things of like, it didn't matter what I wanted to do. It wasn't, despite my plans being completely shattered and my little feelers being hurt. And even though I didn't see it at first, but you know, God's work was done through all of this and through everything that Andrew was saying and everything else. And so in my teaching on this and what I had kind of learned from all this was, you know, I just need to be faithful, I need to step into it. And the last two things I'll leave you guys with is I looked at these and it reminded me, Proverbs 16:9. In their hearts, human plans their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. So I realized that I needed to stop focusing on what I could do. I needed to stop focusing on what I could do and what God could do. I need to stop my worrying and start worshiping more and just follow the steps. So I could go on forever about this, but thank you guys.
Go, Ben, go.
Hello. Hi, I'm Ben. This is actually my second year mission trip. Last year was a good trip, but I kind of went into it without a clear sense of what my goal was. I was still figuring out what God wanted from me on the trip. And about halfway through, I pivoted and decided to just focus on being present with the kids and the TAs and building relationships instead of worrying about some bigger objective. And after that, a lot of my tension eased up, but this year was different. Funny enough, I actually was not even planning on going. But as the trip got closer, I just felt this strong pull inside, like I needed to go and just be of service. Not to anyone in particular, but just wherever I could. And going in with that mindset from day one really kind of changed the entire vibe for me. I felt way more spiritually fulfilled this year. Last year, once I made that pivot towards being with people, things spiritually felt better. But this year, I kind of just carried that posture the whole way through. And I think that's probably a good contributing factor why I didn't feel too drained at the end. I was just kind of showing up and helping wherever I could from the start. And that led to some really good stuff. I got to have some genuine, meaningful conversations with Jordan, one of the TAs that's been there, I think all 3 years now. And then, I got to see what his life looks like, what his discipleship group looks like that he started attending in this last year, which was awesome to see. And I also got to build more of a relationship with Gary and Melody, another couple of the return TAs. And something else that was different this year was I actually got to hang out with the kids we were teaching outside of the classroom. Like last year we had the kids for the day, and then after that we didn't see them until the next day, but Mikey and I had a class together, and a few of our kids met us at the night market and at Marcus and Sharon's house, which unfortunately did lead to us eating chicken feet and stinky tofu. Which stinky tofu is about as bad as it sounds. Mostly the smell. But it was really interesting to see, these 11 and 12-year-olds are just like ours. As soon as you get them out the classroom, they're just animals. But we got to build a little bit of a real relationship with them outside of the classroom, and I have no illusion that they'll necessarily remember anything that we taught them or talked to them about, but I hope that they'll just remember how we made them feel. Last year had its own dynamic. I had 4 TAs in my group, and I shared a classroom with someone from the other church that went on the mission trip. And that guy happened to speak Chinese, so the TAs just naturally gravitated towards him, which makes sense. But it was just a little bit harder to kind of break into any kind of conversation with them and anything like that. And this year, kind of going in with my spiritual gift of service being the focus and no real end goal in mind, I think that's exactly what made it feel just more spiritually building for me. And I'd like to think that, something I did or said might stick with Jordan or Gary or Melody or something like that and play a small part in their spiritual journey. But overall, this year was completely different experience-wise, and I'm not knocking last year's trip at all. It had its own value and its own lessons, but definitely leaning into my spiritual strengths rather than searching for a spiritual objective was definitely changing on this one.
Just teenagers? Right, they go.
Morning, everybody. Am I coming through? Okay, all right. This was my second trip to Taiwan. We went last year. And I talked to some of you guys and told you, like, last year we weren't going to go. And then after the deadline decided to go. And then this year we weren't going to go. And then after the deadline decided to go. And last year it was Jen got the pull to go. And then this year I got the pull to go. So I don't know if next year if anything's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe we've used them all up. I don't know. That's up to God. But this year was very different than last year, like as everybody's been saying. Because last year was a lot of consistency with the kids. Where this year we kind of got a bait and switch kind of at the last moment where we were going to have 2 classes. What turned out the second class was literally 7 different classes over 5 days just rotating out for an hour and a half. So it was like we would have a class for 45 minutes, they get a break, and then 45 minutes, and then we would not see them again. And so I was on the team that had the rotating class, and so it was a bit of a challenge. So we just decided we're just going to have fun. And we're just going to have fun with these kids because it was basically their summer school. In the middle of their school, we were one of their classes, and we said, we're just going to make it awesome for them. And that's what we did. And one interesting thing is, like, if you go online and you Google anything about Taiwanese teens or Taiwanese youth, you will find nothing. And I believe the reason that is because you don't really matter in that culture until you're contributing. And so for adults to show up into a school like that with 7th, 8th graders, 6th, 7th, 8th graders, and show them attention, show interest in them and their culture, and spend time with them and play games with them, it means the world to them. They are ultimately the unseen, right? And I've been thinking about these last few months about this idea of the kingdom of God and what that looks like, and Jesus is constantly pointing his disciples towards the unseen, the people who society looks over. And so going into Taiwan and talking with middle school age youth, you are there with these unseen people. And I mean, you might think 45 minutes with a bunch of kids who barely speak English, they can read and write it well, they barely, like hardly, almost not at all speak it. Is it really going to have an impact? Well, then we go to the night market, and we're walking to the night market, and you just see a random kid, and they're like, hey, they remember you from school, and they want to get a selfie. So, and then you get tons of Instagram followers and all of this stuff, and you're like, I do remember that kid from one of the 4 classes I did, in the last couple of days, but you had that impact on them. And as Ben was mentioning, we had a night where we had all the kids come to the house, and the plan was if we could get like 10 kids to come, and Sharon and Andrew had promised, like, if like 10 kids come, then all the teachers would eat stinky tofu, all this gross stuff. And I think we had like 25, something like that, kids. We had this packed house full of kids. And literally, parents just came, dropped them off with these random American weirdos. And the kids had a blast. Some of them even stayed later than what we had said the cutoff was. So it was really interesting to see how much of an impact we were able to have in such a small amount of time. And one of the things that Mikey had mentioned, you go in with this mindset of, we're going to be getting them saved, we're going to be doing this, and we're going to be challenging their beliefs and all of that, and it just doesn't, God always changes it and does it the way he wants to do it, right? And the way that he was doing it was more so in smaller increments and planting seeds, in some instances sowing seeds. There was one of the TAs, I think he was there last year, James, who then shared his testimony about how he got baptized, and it was just kind of neat to be able to celebrate with him as a group. And so it's interesting to see like the little things that God is doing as he's working. And one of the other things too that Mikey mentioned was them being enslaved. Like we did go to a couple of temples and actually got to see some of the worship, and it's so kind of heartbreaking. It's not like here where you guys come here and you want to experience God and you want to understand how to seek him out through your week throughout the life. There it's more so you have to come to this place and you have to do these things to get this little bit of some God's favor, these different gods, and try to buy your way into favor. And so it's just so interesting to see how enslaving that is, and to be able to present a different perspective, even if just on a little bit of just what Jesus' love looks like, and to be able to kind of show that, I think will ultimately go a long way in the hearts of a lot of these kids, and the relationships we built and the TAs that we had that have continued on. We kind of spent some time with them in Taipei, and it's funny because I don't know if we have the pictures in here or not, but we took pictures of them in the airport, and they are not smiling in the photos because they're so sad that we were leaving. And it's kind of heartbreaking when you look back at the photo. We're all smiling and they're not smiling because they were so sad. So yeah, it was a neat trip, and yeah, overall I think it was just good for us as a group to kind of go together. And again, one of my big takeaways from last year was the one-on-one moments, and we got to have a lot of those I think again this year. So it was good.
My name's Jonathan. This is my second time going. I went the first time we went out. The first time I went, Juliana, my wife, and I both went, and we left 3 of our kids here in the States with family, which was really difficult. This time, when the mission was announced, I made the comment to my wife. I said, "Oh, that sounds really fun," and she goes, "Oh, you should just go." And that was really tough for me because it was like I'm going to leave everybody and not, and she had a 4-month-old at that moment, and I was like, okay. But God lined everything up for me to be able to go and serve, and it was a really amazing trip because of what we were able to do at the school, and then we also had these amazing opportunities to serve with the missionaries that were there, Marcus and Sharon and Bella and Changda, and have these amazing building relationships with them and building relationships with the people that they're around all the time, and helping show that love that will help open up conversations with their community for them to have in the future. And so we may not be the one that has that conversation with these people in the future, but we are at some point in that growth of them, either planting the seed or giving some water or doing something. There was a tea shop that we went to, and the couple were so excited to meet us, and it was one of the missionary couples, the mother and daughter would go there regularly and bring all of the missionary families, all of the families that would come out would go there, and they loved meeting all of these foreigners. And so I had a conversation with the husband over Google Translate for probably 30 minutes, and I went back 3 different times to talk with him and just talk over Google Translate, which was just the most difficult conversation you could have, as he's trying to run a business and me not interrupt that, and yet I brought him some gift. Nate and Jen had a pair of socks that I was able to give him. And we had discussed his goal to come out and see an NBA team play basketball and all of these different things. And I wasn't able to share the gospel at all, but I was able to point him to who can share that gospel and why we were here and what our goal is with the church, so that when they come back, he can go, oh, I'm still interested. I still want to have more conversations, even though I wasn't the one that was able to do it. And I don't know where that will go in the future, but I know that God has those plans laid out for someone.
So at the end of the trip, I was kind of, I felt like we didn't, or like me and Nevaeh, without talking to her too much, we didn't impact as much. And I kind of felt like guilty about that. Like I didn't bond with anybody like super close. And it was the end of the trip. They asked us to take off the sheets off of the mats that we were sleeping on. And Avea had the group that they stayed with the same people. And one of the girls that on her table, her name was Apple. Her English name was Apple. And so when it was time to take off all of our sheets, only Avea's mat, when she took off the sheet, it was a giant apple. And she starts crying, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she was like, look at the mat. And it was just a giant apple. And I was like, it's funny how God works. Like he just gives us like tiny little signs and reminders of his goodness. But we just have to slow down enough to like be watchful of it. And I will also say that even though like, yes, with the kids, somewhat not like deep connections, but I do feel like I had deep connections with like the team. And I don't think that would have happened if I wasn't stuck with, for 10 days in a small space, because I'm really, closed off and introverted. So I'm just like really thankful for that, because I feel like it was, we were able to come out of our shells more, especially like me and Avea. But yeah, that's it.
All right, so I know we probably could keep on going with tons of stories, and hopefully during table talks, we'll have the opportunity to share more of those. Let's go.